Okay, so let's draw the hemispheres out here. Let's just draw here these. This is as if you're looking at the person, so this is the right. Here's the left. And we're gonna draw the brain stem here. And then we've got the pons, part of the brain stem, and the medulla here. Okay. So this one here is the mesencephalon. We draw it in red because that's where the sympathetic area lives. The rest is all parasympathetic. The sympathetics are always firing on both sides of the body. It's bilateral in nature, and it's always on to some degree. For your purposes, it's always on. So what happens is that why we're not experiencing sympathetics at all times is because we have a braking mechanism through the parasympathetics. Now the only catch with the parasympathetics is that they only function unilaterally. So that if one side breaks down, then this side, these sympathetics on one side will start to ramp up. So if I've got a problem, let's say in the cortex on this side, I could see a increase in sympathetics on this side potentially. What I didn't draw that I should have drawn for you guys is also the cerebellum is out here on each side, right? Everything is hemispheres, they're all symmetrical. Then you get your inner ear vestibular system out here. And these guys are all sending signals. Draw them in yellow because that's what nerves usually indicate. They're connected by nerves through here. They come in just like this. And it comes in up here, and they go across. All these fun things, okay? So those connections are important too. So every one of these blue structures is parasympathetic in nature. So what that means is that if any one of these structures, if any one, doesn't matter which one or which combination, becomes problematic, it's going to impact our ability to dampen, to inhibit, tell these guys not to be so powerful. It's basically a braking mechanism. Right? So think about it like a braking mechanism. Everything in the blue job is to inhibit red. And when that doesn't happen, we get problems. So, in the nature of, I'm going to just erase this here. That might be an easier way. Okay, so in the nature of a big pupil or a fatiguing pupil, so if we've got a set of eyeballs up here. Let's get this a little more. We get these eyeballs up here. Let's say this right pupil is bigger. The left one is smaller. But it doesn't even matter if it's bigger, than the other one. It matters that this right pupil fatigues quickly to light, and it may not restrict as much. And it could also be bigger, as we said. Now, it could also take longer to constrict as well. So time what is the time to constrict? How long does it take? So if this right pupil is big, that means that the sympathetics on this side, or if it's big or it fatigues faster or, can't constrict as much, all those things, that means that the sympathetics on this side have become stronger. Now, they didn't just become stronger. Out of the blue, they become stronger because the parasympathetics weakened. They're not as powerful. It's just kind of like a trickle down now that's supposed to be inhibiting this, but it really can't do it very well. Should have rethought the dots there. Anyway, and so when the sympathetics increase on this side, what happens is that heart rate might go up bilaterally, because it's just heart rate is bilateral. You're always going to see that. But blood pressure may be higher on this side, only on this one side, on this right side of the body, because the pupil's on the right side here. Remember, draw everything down the middle. Well, we thought we were. 1 second. Right down the middle, okay? So this is the right side of the body. This is the left side of the body. So blood pressure might go up on that side. We might have increased sweating, or decrease in some instances. Might have cold hands on that side, more so. So just temperature changes in general. You may have changes in reflexes on that side. They may be increased or decreased. You may have greater angulation of joints, where you get into this, what we call a flexor positioning, where the shoulder rolls in or the right foot is out. Eversion. Or might have increased right internal impingement. All of those things, any of those things could happen. But certainly we're going to see pupillary changes. Okay? And so what we don't know right now is we don't know if the problem is in the brain. Oh, shoot. What's going is in the cortex, the blue part here, or it's in the lower brainstem on this side. Which really, if it's lower brainstem, you always want to include the cerebellum in the vestibular system because they're sending information into that lower brainstem. So they're basically all one unit. Now, let's just take away some of those things. So, we're back to saying, is it this or is it this? Now, how we can tell is pretty easy. And the way we can tell is that if we apply SSEP on this left side, whether it's V1, V2, or V3, whichever variation of each one, right? We know we have different V1s, nasociliary or supraorbital, or V2 can be infraorbital, or the one on the lateral portion, V3 would be inferior on the jaw. That if any on this side help, then it must have come, that will always go through this cerebellum or this brainstem to this cortex. And so if that was helpful in juicing up things, then the problem must have been here. Conversely, if that doesn't help and SSCP on the right helps, then it was this brainstem that needed to be activated. And since your question was between this and this, and you've excluded this, you know that this must be the issue. So now you understand that treatments for this brainstem or this cerebellum or this vestibular system will be probably helpful, as well as SSEP, to help reorganize this person's brain, retrain it, so that they can now inhibit the sympathetics on this side. So the sympathetics become weaker again, or not weaker, but appropriately managed. Because remember, we really want sympathetics firing normally. That's a very important part of care, or function, I should say, because that has to do with getting blood flow up to the brain. But just as fast as we get it up there, we then want it to be shut down simultaneously, almost inhibited, almost like it's as soon as you turn the light on, it turns back off type thing. It's like you only need to see something for a flash. Because if it stays on, then what happens is, because it's such a systemic beast, it's very, old, or phylogenetically old in the sense of development, that it will also impact the arteries in the brain. And so it not only, of course, constricts the arteries in our skeletal muscles, in our splanchnic arteries of our gut, but it also constricts the brain arteries. And that's good for a second. But if this continues, then we're going to get decreased oxygen, of course, blood flow to the brain, and we're going to get a lot of symptoms. So you really don't want the sympathetics on any longer than they need to. Sympathetics are known as our fast-acting system. And if you have a healthy sympathetic system, a healthy parasympathetic system in these areas, all these areas, then what they should be able to do is quickly shut them down again so they don't continue. The problem happens when they continually run and run and run over and over and over again, so that your brain is just starving for oxygen. And that's where we get things like the lightheadedness, the increase in heart rate that continues, the increase in blood pressure, the sweating changes, the pupillary changes, the cold hands and feet, because the sympathetics that we are working with here aren't being regulated, and they become very dominant. And that's typically what happens in things that are functionally involved with dysautonomia. So if we can change the landscape in these guys and make sure these are healthy, the sympathetics take care of themselves, because these take care of the sympathetics. So it's all about the thing that tells the other thing to shut up, because these guys don't know when to shut up. As Robert De Niro says, know when to shut up. I don't think he actually said that, but it sounds like something he would say in one of his mobster movies. You don't know when to shut up. And these parasympathetics are the guys, the mobsters that are going to take care of the guy who won't keep his mouth shut. Anyway, that is quite a miracle on ice here, but I hope it helps a little bit.